and good afternoon. My name is Juergen Steinmetz, joining you from the Breaking News Show and eTurbo News in Honolulu, Hawaii. And with me, as most of the time, is Dr. Peter Tarlow, our co-host, and he's joining us from College Station in Texas. And we always summarize the weather. We actually have a tropical storm watch or warning here with high waves expected or already happening at this time in the South Shore, so not on the North Shore where they usually are. And so that includes even the region in Hawaii, in Waikiki and Kahala. But it seems to be, I'm looking out of the window and actually I see the beach. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. It looks actually fairly nice. I see mostly blue sky. So hopefully this is just passing by. How are things in Texas, Peter?
Well, we've had a heat wave now for 5 weeks and we haven't had any rain. So if you would send us some of your tropical storm, we'd be very happy because most people's lawns are a beautiful shade of yellow. And soon we'll be having the animals eating the grass because it's turning to hay. So it's been, normally we have some hot days in Texas, and normally the weather is about 90 degrees, which in Europe would be a big heat wave, but here is just a normal thing. But we've been now almost 5 weeks where it's been over 100. So that's about 40 degrees in Celsius. And that is really warm. And it's now become warm and humid. So it's kind of like being in a boiling bottle of oil of Olay. So what I do is I take my walks in the morning. I get up at 4 in the morning and I'm on the street by 4:30 because I want to be in the house before the sun comes up. So I think it's starting to really even hurt tourism because it's too hot for people to want to go out. Now, in a lot of places in Texas, they get around that by having all sorts of nighttime activities. So the baseball fields are lit up at night, the soccer fields are lit up at night. So, and here, sports tourism is a very big area of tourism, but you can't play during the day because you could die of heat exhaustion. So they have to do it at night, which is kind of interesting.
And you live in a college town because you're saying you're getting up at 4 in the morning. Many people will say, well, in most big cities, that's really not such a safe time to walk around.
Here it's very safe. Like you see lots of women in bikinis or in two-piece bathing suits jogging by themselves at 3 or 4 in the morning.
Well, I wonder where they went.
So, but I don't think anybody here really thinks too much about security. It's a college town and most people know each other and it's very safe. When I walk around the streets at 4:30 in the morning, I see lots of people I know.
And I know you want to see the bikinis in the morning. No, I understand.
It's beautiful. So there are lots of people on the streets. You have to wait till the daytime to see people in bikinis.
Oh, okay. I thought at 4 in the morning. I thought, wow, what a place.
No. In Hawaii, I think you only have that at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yes. No, that's true.
But the heat is also impacting what's going on in a lot of the places. Europe is having some terrible forest fires, especially in Iberia Peninsula, in Spain and Portugal. In southern France, they've evacuated, I believe, over 14,000 people. And this is also impacting tourism because this is many of the forest fires are almost right to the beaches. That's taking place in Greece and in some parts of Italy. And this is high season. So, it's a real problem. If it's hot and people go to the beach, it's one thing, but if it's hot and you got to be evacuated because of forest fires, that's not so good.
Yeah, and Europe, of course, most places in Europe, and we're talking about countries in Central Europe like Germany, Holland, Belgium, France, they don't really have air conditioning. And I was listening to my local radio station from my birth town last night on the internet, and they're giving advice, how people can stay cool because it is awfully hot and there's no air conditioning. Opening the windows is helping a little bit. And so there's really a struggle right now keeping the temperatures down.
Yes. And Germany, of course, has very big problems because Germany did away with nuclear power and is kind of dependent on other forms. And of course, a lot of it was importing oil and gas from Russia, which is no longer a functioning system. they're trying to get windmills, but there's not a lot of wind in Germany right now. So the windmills aren't turning. And so what they have to do is burn coal in order to make electricity. And that's a big problem because then they're polluting the air. It's just like the Secretary of Transportation suggested everybody get an electric car in the United States. But in Texas, for example, where the grid is, if everyone had an electric car, you wouldn't be able to drive. It would bring all traffic to the economy would come to complete stop because electricity doesn't come from the sky. You have to make it. You can't plug your electric power plant into something if the windmills aren't working and the solar isn't working. So there's a real problem now with the whole world of transportation, and the whole concept of electric cars may do more damage than they do good.
Well, we see the world is definitely shifting everywhere, and we don't know how it's. And luckily, the coal production has not started in Germany yet, but this would definitely be a matter of concern because it was just stopped. Neighboring France is still relying on nuclear energy, what no one wanted in that part. So there's a lot of back and forth, and I think the situation.
I think France. So most people are kind of seeing France as a model because it is non-polluting nuclear, and I think that the Germans. Well, they have no choice. The Germans will either have to go to coal or nuclear or burn to death. And the third alternative is not acceptable. So, and it's going to be a very cold winter in Germany this year. So,
yeah, and really the heat is it's a secondary problem. What you rightfully just said, it's the cold in the winter, what everyone is fearing.
Yes.
And yes. That, of course, is something what needs to be brought under.
And no one's going to go to a hotel and freeze.
Not many, but they have these nice feather beds. They're beautiful. You can actually sleep in this feather bed in under 0 temperatures if you want 0.
Well, that would be quite a new marketing. Though I have a friend who went to Iceland in December for his honeymoon, and I said, "Why would anybody go to Iceland in December and his honeymoon?" He said, "Because there's 22 hours of darkness and nothing to do." What a great place for a honeymoon. So you see, you can, if good marketing, you can turn anything around.
Yeah, but I love these feather beds. When I was a kid, I know we went to places in the winter and there wasn't much of a heating. And it
now, what are you going to do with people who are allergic? What are you going to do with people who are allergic to feathers? A lot of people have feather allergies.
Well, not for everyone, of course. You don't find a solution that works.
Those people will freeze to death.
Yeah, I guess we keep this little bit of electricity for them, maybe.
The other thing is, where do you get all the feathers?
Yes. Egyptian feathers are really.
And I understand that the PETA, the Animal Protection Society, is really against feather beds and feather pillows.
Well, you can get them. They don't have to be real animal feathers, so they could be synthetic, and you can buy it here. I mean, if you go to Macy's or some of the stores and look for the hotel brand, you find exactly the same thing, and you can buy the expensive one. These are the real feathers, and you can buy the less expensive one. These are not real feathers, but they both keep you warm. Actually, I like the synthetic ones better. I think they keep you warm in a different way. I like the feeling better, but everyone has, I guess, a priority here.
Yeah.
So here I turn the air conditioner way down so I can have my feather bed, so.
Oh, all right. Well, anyway, I do think that's a big issue. Of course, the other big issue that's going on right now in tourism, there's still so many people who are not working in hotels or in airlines, or I came back to the United States on Friday morning, and there were 20 counters to go through immigration at the Houston airport. 3 were open. And the line was incredibly long. And I said to the gentleman when I finally got up there, I said, you need more open counters. And he said, we have nobody working. And
that's why I have global entry, and I can recommend to anyone who is a U.S. citizen and lives in the U.S. get global entry. And actually, you can get it even as a foreigner. Most U.S. citizenships allow.
Okay, but the bottom line is that's not the global entry that I'm speaking about. I'm speaking about the fact that throughout the whole tourism system, there's a lack of people working.
Oh, no, absolutely.
And
You find restaurants everywhere. There, half of the tables are open, and when people are standing outside trying to get in and they won't let them in, they say we don't have enough waiters to actually
right.
serve these tables.
There were
That's a norm almost.
people were waiting 40 minutes to get their bags at the Houston airport, 40, 45 minutes, and missing other flights.
Yeah.
So, and part of that was just they had no baggage. I don't know what you call them, the people who take the bags off the plane and put them on the conveyor belts. The baggage handlers, I guess is the right word for it. But they don't have enough baggage handlers. They didn't have enough people to get you from one place to another. So that became really, the problem is not any one issue. The problem is if travel becomes too uncomfortable and we continue to see rising prices around the world and certainly in the United States, this is going to be a long-term very bad for the tourism industry. Now, right now, it's okay because there's lag time and many people bought their flights before inflation really hit. Matter of fact, consumers are buying more stuff, and I'm one of those because what happens is you expect prices to go up. This happened in the 1970s. And so, for example, instead of buying a can of tuna fish, I'll buy 2 cans of tuna fish. I'll buy double everything because I'll assume right now it's $4 for a can. Next week, it'll be $4.50 or $5. So you might as well double everything you're buying. So if it's not perishable, I buy double. And that's becoming a phenomena, but it's a false premise because it makes things look like there's more sales than there really are. And then, of course, in the end, inflation gnaws at the bones of an economy until the economy collapses.
Well, not easy times, and I guess we take it one day at a time. But in the meantime, talking about travel and tourism, it seems to be booming. People are ready to travel. Yes. People do travel. Hotels in most tourist areas like the Caribbean, like here in Hawaii, like in Spain, are full.
Absolutely.
They're happy. No one wants to advertise because they said we're full anyway. So right now there's a lot of optimism going around.
No, and my question is this false optimism? In other words, is this a lag time because people planned, in March or April, they wanted to go on vacation, they already paid for it. I did that. I'm taking a group to Israel in a few weeks, and we paid for everything in May, for an August trip, so that even though there's inflated prices, we're already paid for. But what will happen next time we want to go will become too expensive. That becomes the question. So yes, right now tourism is booming, but I don't know if it's a false premise.
And of course, that's not everywhere in the world. We just uploaded a story from Iran, and Iran always had a thriving travel and tourism industry ever since. Even when the Shah was in power, it was even more important.
It was better, yes.
Islamic Republic, of course, it went down, but it kept up. But this letter we received from a person we know and we had interaction with for many years. Now, of course, I want to protect him and not say a name here. Paints a really grim picture. I mean, people are, we talks about travel professionals being homeless on the streets, not enough food to eat, and a government that is pretty much terrorizing people. And to keep tourism alive during such a climate, obviously, is more than a challenge. And
and as you know, they're having some other issues too. There was the second largest salt lake in the world was on the Iranian-Turkish border, and it's now been reduced by 90%. I don't remember the name, but there was an article on the BBC a day or two ago about it, and the Iranian government has built so many dams and other stuff, and then they're having a drought, so they siphon the water off, and then there's no rain. So you end up with a double, whammy, and the lake is now at 10%. In other words, it's almost dead. And most people around this lake, it's a huge, huge lake, like bigger than the state of Hawaii, and they had beach houses or hotels right on the lake. They're now 200 meters from the lake, and that's a long way to go. And this lake is now filled with the red blossoming algae, which is really dangerous and it can become poisonous. So, and it destroys all the other life. So you can see that's a real problem that Iran is having, and it's losing. It was the #1 tourism site for Iranians up until recently.
And you mean that's on the Caspian Sea or on the Gulf region?
It's on the border between Iran and Turkey, and
Okay.
yeah, and I can look up the name if you want. I'll look it up right now. Let me see if I can find it for you. But the BBC just had a whole report about it and how tragic it was. Let me see if I can find that. Of course, when you want to find it, you can't. But I will see here if I'm looking real fast to see if I can find it, and I can't.
Well, neighboring, since we mentioned Turkey now, in Turkey, tourism specifically in Istanbul, Antalya, Izmir is booming.
Yes. Now, of course, prices are very cheap in Turkey.
Yeah, well, actually, that is changing, Peter. The prices are going up tremendously because the demand is there. And probably thanks to Turkish Airlines, what is the largest carrier now in the world.
Yes. One of the best, and I should say one of the best. It's really
has most of the destinations and serves the largest number of countries, and so that definitely helps the economy. And they're allowing stopovers. The stopovers in Istanbul are very, very popular. And I can see hotels right now that 5-star hotels that were selling just a few months ago for like $80, $70, $80 a night are now selling for $400 and $500 a night. So rates are going up.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. Yes.
Yes, it is. It'll be interesting to see what happens to the rates in Europe if the euro continues to go down. Of course, as an American, that's great for us. But will the Europeans raise their prices, and will that make it harder for Europeans to travel?
Well, business hotels are expensive these days in Europe. I mean, I look at Germany because I stay in hotels in Germany and cities, and I can tell you when I go to my hometown in Düsseldorf, I always stay at the Berliner Hyatt, and rates almost seems to have doubled from last year. So it's not necessarily a cheap place for accommodation. And so it kind of shows you tourism and travel is increasing. People are on the road. They're on the road now, but of course we don't know if they're going to be on the road tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to watch. I think we are facing some very interesting economic times. Of course, we're dealing also, there had been a lot of hope that President Biden would come back with some good news about oil, which did not happen. And it'll be interesting to see, how the price of gas will it continue to be high? Will it return? The Saudis have said they could only use 1 million barrels or more a day, and that's it. They're maxed out, and that's really not good news, especially for Europe, which is facing a lot of problems, especially as it's so dependent on Putin's Russia. And it looks like the war in the Ukraine is going to be going on for a long time.
Yeah, unfortunately, and that is definitely a tragical development. And Russia always has time, and most communist powers, have time. Time is on their side, and that's really how they win. And,
right, and they don't have to worry about an election or the population getting upset.
Not too much.
In a European country or in the United States, if the party in power doesn't do a good job, people go to the polls and vote it out. So politicians have to be much more aware that their job is on the line. And we could see some big changes going on around the world.
Well, it's Sunday today. We have another week coming up, and a lot going on. So we're definitely going to be.
This is a good way to start the week.
Sunday to start the week, I guess.
Yes. Sunday is the first day of the week. So we have a good way to start the week here, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'll be in Texas this whole week, so I'm excited. Then I'll be in a very interesting place next week, which is Mexicali on the California-Mexican border, which is traditionally the hottest place in Mexico. I'm wondering if it could be hotter than College Station. So in College Station, it's about 104, 105, or about 42 degrees Celsius. I think Mexicali maybe about 45, 46 degrees. So that should be quite a hot experience.
Wow. Well, we hopefully going to catch up before that.
Yes, of course. And we'll be doing another, but this gives us lots of ideas to see what to do during the week. So aloha, howdy in Texas, and Joy, I hope you don't get, I don't think you want a typhoon. So I hope it just gets pretty soft sprinkles, and send us some of your rain, please.
Well, I'm going down to the pool right now. It looks like it's a beautiful day outside. So hopefully, many times we get these reports, and since we're in the middle of the Pacific, and you never know, a few hundred miles out of the way, that can happen fairly quickly. And then,
yeah. By the way, I don't know if this is true or not, but my grandson was telling me that the fault lines in the Pacific may end up sucking out all the water and turning and moving it to the Atlantic, and so that in 300 million years there won't be a Pacific Ocean. So if you are buying beach property, know that in 300 million years it might not be good.
well, unfortunately, I don't think we have to worry about it that much.
But I just wanted to warn you in case anyone was thinking of that the Pacific could get drained within the next 300 million years.
I don't see this happening yet, but who knows?
Will you be around in 300 years to know?
And I wish, wouldn't that be scary or nice, depending,
All right. Have a great evening.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.